unimportant effect that is deleterious to Saber Sephiroth. It charges my memory with super fast emissions. Saber Sephiroth. Guys, I hate this fight. Not because it's particularly hard, but because I'm Soviet mid-god robot whip like you. I cast regen on myself, and it ends up just reflecting it onto the robot, making the...
I found my dropship today. My out-of-production Prodos AVP Cheyenne Dropship from the movie Aliens. It's been sat in a box, broken, badly casted, and badly put together, and in dire need of restoration, repair, and finishing. It's been 5 years since I bought this thing. Now it's time to see it take flight. I picked this dropship up a few years ago in the Prodos. We've shit the bed and Disney just bought Fox and we're not renewing our license sale. And it was at 50% off its RRP, so at the time, we're talking about 150 bangers. Nowadays, this thing can sell anywhere for up to £500. So rather than selling it, as we should definitely do so that we can pay off our cameras, we're going to restore, rebuild, and paint this monster up. And maybe, just maybe, do some jazzy visual effect shots with it to recreate some of the shots from the original Aliens movie. First port of call is to sort out these horrendous joins in the bodywork. This is partly me, sure, but I'm gonna be straight with you. The larger cast stuff from this Prodos range is fucking dire. It's awful. So I go in with the Milliput and plug the gaps and round some edges. Blunt forcing it where we can and smoothing the finish out as much as possible to shave off some sanding time later on. So I was midway through doing some test fits for LEDs on the Cheyenne Dropship, and basically Japan arrived. So a couple of months ago I went on my honeymoon for a month to Japan, which was lovely, and everything was a mixture of, well, it was either countryside or it was shopping, and sometimes the two crossed over. And I forgot we bought a lot of things and shipped them, because it took 2 months to get here, and naturally I've forgotten 90% of the things I bought, and Japan couldn't have been cheaper. We're not going to go through it all now, but by the time this video goes out, at least one of my Japan vlogs, because I took a camera or two naturally on the MS Paints Patreon, everything from travel to the countryside to pretty beauty shots to advice for anyone that is going to shop for geeky tat like I did. Be a lot of information and travel-y stuff in there, which will be a Patreon exclusive. I'm going to move all of this out of the way into the previous MS Paints workroom so that I can get back on with the Cheyenne Dropship, as much as it hurts me to pack all this awesome stuff away. So yeah, lighting rig. We'll get more into the electronics later, but for now I need to bore some holes through the front and into the cargo area. And to stop these LEDs blinding people on the tabletop, I'm adding some eyelids to the body. This is so we can see what the light casts, but not the light source itself. So when we're playing games, we're not going to get blinded. And then we move on to sanding. Sanding, 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 and look, more sanding. With cleanup done and our initial layer of grey primer on, it's time to figure out how to actually paint this thing. And to do that, we're going to have to hit the books. Okay, so that book is massively sparing with the colour photos, but I did do some digging, and with some help from the Adam Savage channel, I managed to track down the original colour schemes and some footage of production models. With a new shopping list made, I gave the models a coat of primer, a coat of gloss, and another shot of primer, and waited for them to dry.
What's up, guys? Tony D here, back in perpetual forward motion with a hot and fresh and funky message from this video sponsor, Squarespace. Ever look at yourself in the mirror in complete disgust and think to yourself, gosh, I wish I had a fresh and funky new website to show to my friends. Well, with Squarespace's browser-based editing platform, you can take a whole hog of existing templates, endlessly customize them, and make a personalized site that's ready to go in minutes. What's that? Don't have a desktop computer? No problem. Because now Squarespace has a dedicated app on the telephone to help you edit your website on the go wherever you are. Crazy! And if you're looking to get your brick-and-mortar store some online presence or even an online shop, you can build a web store with those existing templates and even link it to your business's existing e-POS system. Too crazy. And lastly, it's Tony D's favorite thing that Squarespace do and nobody else can do. It's the browser-based acquisition tab, guys. Want to give your website a jazzy and snazzy name? Well, no problem. Click on the tab here, head on over here, type the name of the website that you'd like, preferably something funny. Click the buy button and immediately attach it to your dream website you just made. To get started with your Squarespace journey today, just head on over to squarespace.com/MSPaints and use the code MSPaints at checkout to save yourself 10% off your first website subscription or domain. Alright, bye everybody!
So the colour in question is the quaintly named Brown Bess, which was manufactured by Humbrol many years ago and is discontinued. Doesn't exist anymore, and it's definitely the one that they used on the Aliens props. Yep, everything in Aliens is brown. It's only through a mixture of film lighting and shooting directly onto film that gives the illusion that the props are green. And that is fascinating. And as usual with all my stuff, you don't need an airbrush. I just don't want to sit here stippling my life away when I can just do the highlighting in about 45 minutes with an airbrush. I mix up a colour that is way too watery and immediately I don't like, and then move on to a colour that I do like straight out the pot, so that'll teach me to try and mix my own colours. I isolate a few panels and break up the Brown Bess and hit some edges that I'm going to weather and distress later on with this lighter colour. Cheeky slather of speed paint and dab it off with a towel for some brisk rub and buff. I'm working on the APC and Dropship at different times, so I can try a technique on one and adapt it and change it on the other model if it doesn't work. Classic sponge trick going on here for the chipping though. Okay, so the colour I settled on for the highlight is Dragon Fang from Two Thin Coats, which according to our handy chart is just good old Xandri Dust from Citadel. And as we all know, Xandri Dust goes with anything. Sweetheart, I'm not sure what I'm going to wear tonight. Just wear your Xandri Dust shoes. They go with everything. Then using our not Rhinox hide, I'll go into the chips I want to be a bit deeper and paint in some of those exposed metal and rust areas. This is a tedious process and hard to get looking natural. Thankfully, I just let my MS shakes do their thing and try not to worry too much about accuracy. It's one of the benefits of being a student at the Temple of the Quaking Palm. Very natural scratches and weathering on your models. These rain streaks from ammo are an enamel based paint and super useful for adding rain streaks. I've also picked up a few other acrylic and water-based products to have a go here, trying something a bit new and trying them on the APC first, to go whole hog on the dropship later on. Put on the enamel effects from ammo, MIG, whichever it is, whatever it is. Left it way too long to dial it back. I want to dial it back a bit more, but I got like 5 videos being filmed at the minute and just completely forgot that this was on the shelf. So that is definitely what it is currently. Things to do next. I'm worried that these are a little bit too on the subtle side. Under the film lights they look okay, they look fine currently, but as soon as you take them to the gaming table, it's like, oh, this that is brown, that is brown, which is kind of what the movie props are. They're black and brown, and that is about it. And because they're bigger, they're just hit with film lights, and they look infinitely better and more interesting. So the challenge is trying to take something that was never designed to be a scale model and painted and make it interesting at a miniature scale. An initial Warhammer guy making my transition from Warhammery style stuff to what is essentially microfilm props is yeah, because I look at them and I'm like, that's brown, that's all it needs to be, but it is brown. So I think with the dropship I'm going to go a little bit harder on some of these shaders and ammo effects stuff I've got. I'm going to dry brush some metallic edges on there just for a little bit of something. I think an overall enamel wash at the end to kind of add some variety. If you can say an overall enamel wash adds variety, I think it does. It will in this case. I'm going to throw some more rust on there. I have to paint the cockpit. Fuck, forgot I had to paint the cockpit. I'll do that. And then I finally am going to install the lighting rig. I got some resistors for the convoy board that I've been using from Terraintronics. The resistors basically mean that I can put a cheap Poundland power bank in there without a dedicated on button, and it will draw enough juice using the resistors to keep the battery on, because at the minute all I have is like a 50 quid battery with a dedicated power button that I use for my sound mixer on shoots, but I can't be, that won't fit in there because it's a big fucking battery. I'm gonna crack on. For the dirty brown rust, which is a hard product to trust with a font that is in Comic Sans, I did some research and there was but one video by Mediocre Hobbies that told me the best way to use it. So, slap it on thick, dry it off, and reactivate it with a stiff brush and water. That, my friends, is god tier rust. Electronics time, yeah. Thanks once again to Dafydd at Terraintronics for this care package that you sent a while ago now, and to avoid a soldering iron, which becomes a weapon of mass self-destruction in my multiple sclerosis-y hands, we're using the wire wrap tool instead. So, I'm sure this battery is going to auto power off at some point. Right, fuck it. We're installing the resistors anyway. These resistors make sure any power bank that normally switches off due to low power draw will now stay powered on. Okay, lastly, let's address this cockpit window. I finally found a use for all those issue 1 of Mortal Realms I bought years ago. Yeah, finally. Who's got 50 of them under the bed? With some tactically applied super glue, we can stick these in. Whatever you do, don't use activator, as that's going to fog up the plastic straight away. Now, I did mention earlier I was going to try some very cheap and cheerful VFX shots with this model. I recorded a video on how I did that, but that video itself, which I was going to put in this video, was like 10 minutes long. So if you're that way inclined, you can find it on the MS Paint's Patreon under the bonus content folders. It's not so much a tutorial, but a handy and laid back chat about how these shots are put together quickly and efficiently. But how did the model itself turn out? Pretty beastly. It's a big old boy that honestly fit the part with just a few base coats on, and the weathering to the naked eye is actually kind of pretty subtle. It's an awesome centerpiece for any game of AVP, but also I'm probably just going to make a new Stargrave crew and use this as their dropship. Awesome. The lights really add to it, and they're bright enough for regular tabletop play. I think, considering the state it was in at the start of the video, this has come out probably just about how I wanted it, straddling the line somewhere between tabletop piece and movie prop authentic. Don't forget to like and subscribe, that does help me out massively, and if you fancy yourself any of the stuff I used in this video, you can check out the Whaling Games link in the description at no extra cost to your damn fine selves. Big love as always to my honking stonking Patreon community. You guys are wonderful, you all smell great, and seeing your painted minis always tries me to try that little bit harder with the stuff that I make on the channel. Cheers, I'm out of here.